We should never mind it. And welcome to the Down in Front podcast. How's it going, guys?
Hi.
Woo! Woo! We are coming to you super live, right on the heels of the premiere of the Game of Thrones Season 7 Extravaganza.
Episode 1.
Episode 1.
Premiere.
The title name is being Dragonstone. Sorry, there's a lot going on in my head right now because this episode was crazy. But before we get into all the goodies and all the recaps and stuff that we're going to do, I would love to introduce my friends who is with me. So I'm here, of course, with the man, the myth, the Legion, Mr. Jesse Kendrick. How's it going?
How's it going?
Good. I miss your face.
Yeah, right? This is now, 2 podcasts in a row?
That's true.
I've got a streak going.
I know. I mean, I saw you last week, but it feels like forever.
You saw me last night.
I did see you last night, too.
We were hanging out last night.
Yeah.
I know it was a bit of a blur, but...
It was. Definitely was. So what you sipping on and what you been watching?
I'm drinking my classic Arizona iced tea watermelon flavor. It's awesome.
Oh, they get them back in stock?
Apparently. Well, Warren actually brought it to me as a podcast gift. Thanks, Warren.
Oh,
so I haven't had one of them in a long time.
It's 50 cents. It's bonus.
Yeah, right? So I've been sipping on that pretty well.
This time the price is not on the can because it was 50 cents. So that's just...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
That's good.
I know. I thought it was awesome.
Arizona, if you're listening, I'm still looking for that sponsorship.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Right? What have I been watching? I haven't been watching anything, but I've been playing the living daylights out of Final Fantasy VI for iOS. It's in the United States. It was Final Fantasy III for the Super Nintendo. It was one of those RPGs I skipped over as a kid, and it's really freaking baller. I've been playing with a gamepad, so I just have it mounted on my wall, and I'm just playing. I have a detachable mount for my iPad, and I play on a gamer mode. And it's a really, really freaking rad game. I highly recommend it. It's interesting because it's one of the first RPGs ever that set the foundation where everything's kind of making fun of it now, or they do twists on things, but it's no, this is just old school turn-based style. This is what an RPG is based on. And
classic.
It's classic. I like it.
There you go.
I highly recommend it.
I downloaded it and I was kind of bummed that it wasn't more of a free sort of running around, so I kind of ended up deleting it, but I'm sure that it was
I mean, like any RPG, it basically doesn't get free roaming until you get further into it, and then it becomes free roaming.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite games as a kid growing up, and I still love those characters to that day, and I think they have the best bad guy of any Final Fantasy game out there.
I think the cast is a little too large. There's 13, 14 characters, so you're kind of I only use the same 4 people over and over and over again, so it gets a little, that's a little much, but otherwise, it's all game.
Cool. Well, as always, thanks for coming on and joining us again as one of the originators, so as always. Brylan, how's it going, man?
Good, how's it going?
Excellent. Thanks for hanging out again, as always. You're study into it. What you been doing? What you been sipping on, and what you been watching?
Right now I'm finishing up my 6er of Sam Adams Porch Rockers that I bought the other day. They're still light and refreshing, so on a nice summer night like this, it's really good. What I've been watching right now, I just finished watching 2 really good musical documentaries. One is Can't Stop, Won't Stop, which is on Apple Music exclusively, which is about celebrating 20 years of Bad Boy Records, which was created by Puff Daddy, and he kind of drives this documentary. It's all about how did he get his start, and where did he end up, and how are they going to honor it with a 20th anniversary live show in Brooklyn. And then the other documentary I watched was The Defiant Ones, and it was a 4-part miniseries on HBO about how Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine got to where they are right now, becoming like the first hip hop billionaire. And it definitely goes back into their past history. Like a lot of the Dr. Dre stuff has been covered in like past documentaries about NWA and just seeing like other things about how he started Death Row and all the history behind Death Row. But it was really cool to see how Jimmy Iovine got his start. That he was the sound engineer on Born to Run, which is one of the greatest rock albums of all time.
Nice.
And how it just became that he worked on hit after hit after hit. And he started as a kid that hated high school and dropped out and just wanted to do something, but he wasn't quite sure what he wanted to do. What's really the big difference between these two documentaries, I would say, is Can't Stop, Won't Stop. It's definitely not going to be more than what it is. It's definitely a very surface level. Let's just celebrate Bad Boy Records for where it came from, what it is.
Yeah.
But the Defiant ones really allowed it to be shown a little bit more of the warts and all, like behind the scenes elements of what happened and how like Interscope Records got started and how they almost got shut down because they signed Death Row or they signed Trent Reznor, which led to people like Marilyn Manson and Tupac and Suge Knight, and like causing like a lot of calamity in the music culture that wasn't prevalent at that time. So I found it to be a lot more interesting documentary, but I think both of them have good merits. They're both entertaining to watch as well.
Cool.
All right.
This definitely sounds exciting. I mean, I would love to. I think we talk about this all the time, that there's so much good content now, and if Apple Music is coming out with good content too, oh my goodness, I can barely kind of catch up. So, I mean, I'm super pumped. I'm super excited that sounds good, and I've definitely been hearing stuff about it. So I'm definitely going to try to see if I can make my round away to watch that.
Yeah, I definitely recommend both of them.
Cool. Well, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. My name is Warren. I'll be your host for this evening.
Warren, what have you been watching?
Oh, thanks. Thanks for you said. I actually watched this movie.
Drinking?
Huh? And drinking. Oh, I get 2 questions?
Yeah,
thanks,
dude.
guys. So I am currently drinking. I went with a standard, pretty typical Apothic Red. Very good. I mean, it was great. I think hashtag sip to this and siptothis.com, siptothat.com. They had a great post on their Instagram, and I was like, whoever's running their Instagram, they know what's up. So it even had it on sale. So I thought that was pretty cool. That Apothic Red. I was also we have definitely reviewed that multiple times.
Oh, you brought that's
yeah.
your regular watermelon drink.
So I'm not gonna review that again. But as of what I've been watching, I did watch this. I'm not even sure if it's called like an indie movie or how would you could describe it, but it's called The Little Hours. Have you guys heard of this movie?
Nope.
No.
So this cast is actually hilarious. So you know for sure I go into these things blind. So it stars Dave Franco, Allison Brie, and Aubrey Plaza. It has John C. Reilly. It has Molly Shannon. It has Fred Armisen. It has who's the guy who plays the Parks and Rec? The older guy. He's super funny. Everybody loves him.
Oh, with the mustache?
Yeah, with the mustache. It has him.
Oh.
The name's gonna come to us, yeah, for sure. But it was a very weird. It was a funny. It was a comedy, but it was also very strange because it has to do with like kind of nuns in a monastery, or convent. Sorry. So it was very weird. It was a very different, weird movie. I'll love to talk about it a bit more. I would say we watched it at like a smaller theater out in Waltham. It was a weird movie. It's a weird movie. I'm interested to get more people's sort of opinions and approaches of it because I was kind of confused, but you know, it was still fun. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. All right.
Were you talking about Nick Offerman?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Offerman.
and he like even like a lot of his lines. Like the movie was funny. I was just sitting there like very puzzled and questioned, and I even looked over to Meg. She said she enjoyed it. I'm like, are you sure? Because do you even realize what we just watched right now? I'm not sure. It's an hour and a half, so it's a pretty short movie. But it's funny, so it's pretty cool. I guess I would say I wouldn't recommend it, but if you do see it, let's chat about it, sort of thing. So, That's what I've been watching. So I'm excited to kind of get into, like, we're going to do this a little bit differently from our regular sort of reviews. We're actually going to just talk about a recap because so much has happened in this series. I just kind of want to go down, let's kind of work our way through the actual episode itself and kind of talk about some background information, things that we may not necessarily kind of know about. So I'm excited to talk about this cold open. I'm going to toss it over to Brylan because, man, oh man, do I love cold opens. And do I like it like this? I don't know if Game of Thrones has done it any better. So if you haven't seen, first of all, if you haven't seen this episode, you should probably definitely stop this recording.
Spoilers.
Yes.
Spoilers.
Gonna be a bunch of spoilers. We're obviously gonna be spoiling this entire episode. And we're probably going to be spoiling the entire series if you haven't seen it up to so far. So I would say probably stop the recording right now. Come back. Definitely watch it. It's on HBO, HBO Go. I mean, it's on Amazon. It's literally everywhere online. Pick it back up, and then we'll see you in a bit. And we are back, and we are going to be talking about Game of Thrones Season 7 premiere, Episode 1, titled Dragonborn. They had a pretty badass cold open. I'm going to toss it over to Brylan, and let's talk a little bit more about that cold open. Brylan?
Yeah, so if y'all remember, Arya's story of Season 6 ended with her killing Walder Frey, the patriarch of the Freys, the guy that instrumented the Red Wedding, which killed Robb Stark, his wife, and his mom as well. So, and killing a lot of Starks and their bannermen at the same time. It's one of the biggest turning points in the Game of Thrones story overall. So it's a bit of a shock when they open up this show and first thing you see is Walder Frey having a feast for his men in his banquet hall. And you're like, oh, what's going on? Is this a flashback or is this a dream of someone? And so as he goes along, I mean, he's talking about this speech and it's well done. It sounds like he's celebrating the Freys and their good work. They're talking about the Red Wedding. And all of a sudden, once everybody drinks their wine, he starts to his speech starts to allude to the guilt behind the Red Wedding. You killed a woman when she was with child. You killed your guest when you broke salt and bread with them inside your own house, which is totally against house rules. And all of the men just start dying left and right. This is all the Frey men. So all of Walder's children, his grandchildren are here, just starting to die, blood coming out of their mouth and everything. They all keel over. And at the very end, you see Walder Frey take off his face. It's Arya. And she turns to Walder's latest wife, who's like 13. And she says, let everybody know that winter has come for the Freys and that the North remembers. And boom, she just walks out like a badass.
Oh my god.
It was an amazing scene.
I mean, even in that scene, I just love she is ruthless, but she still cares that she doesn't want to take an innocent life. And the way that she spins that was, I don't want to waste this good wine on a woman. Yeah. And so I just like that because there's still a bit of Arya left in her, that she knows that her revenge and her bloodshed is for the people who has caused harm and sin and definitely deserve it. But she still chooses to kind of save people. So I thought that was a super powerful moment to see that, Arya is not completely removed from her emotions. And I mean, I'm pretty sure later on in the season that something's probably going to come back, and we'll talk a bit about Arya later on, even in this episode, because she comes back too. Does it?
Yeah, and I think it's really good because it shows how smart Arya's become as well. It's not about her being like, I'm going to be as ruthless as possible. It's like, hey, if the Freys need to lose their power and not be an influence anymore, you can't just take out the head of the household and just wash your hands of them. They've procreated a lot, so there's tons of them. And so you have to just cull their numbers, and they'd be able to make it where, hey, for them to have a bona fide leader and someone that can make the Freys a power in the world, you have to take out a lot of them, essentially all their male heirs, to make sure they can't influence anybody.
Close off that family tree, chop it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought it was. I mean, I just like the fact of that now because that we started with this. You start hear like murmurs and things throughout the episode of something happened to the phrase, but we don't know. They don't know exactly what happened, but now they're all dead. What the hell's happening? So I thought that was also a pretty cool thing. Yeah, Jesse.
About the cold opener, or just pick a character? Oh, about the cold open. I mean, in terms of that, it was. I think everything Brylan was gonna said everything I thought. Where it was just, I remember when it turned on, I even turned to you, Warren, and I was like, oh, wow, cold open? Like, do they usually do that? And as soon as you see Walder Frey walk out, you're like, I thought it was a flashback to the Red Wedding, but then the layout was wrong. It was just a good way to start a new season instead of just running credits and then picking up from there.
Yeah. It definitely was a lot of fun. I mean, even we see Arya, we'll stay with her before we move on, is that we see her later on with a familiar face, a familiar voice, just going, just kind of chiming in, just kind of singing, and it was a weird way of kind of showing that, you know, Arya's heading to King's Landing, and she runs into a bunch of these guards who are
kind of singing about the shape of her body and stuff.
Yeah. So for those, obviously Ed Sheeran was there, which I thought was awesome. I mean, his voice is so silky. Not like yours, Brylan, but it's silky. It is silky. And, you know, she goes there, and then we actually see this very nice moment of her just kind of hanging out. They offer her rabbit, they offer her wine, and they're all just kind of hanging out, and they even talking about their families, how the fact that it was kind of tough to see that moment, because in the back of my head, I'm like, well, they're all about to die?
They're all about to die. That's all I could think of the entire scene. I was like, is she just going to shank him?
Yeah.
Or...
But I even like the fact that they even focused on, like, when she was sitting down, she was assessing all of these guys, and they were all unarmed, completely. But even one of these soldiers says, you know, my mom, when I'm raised, like, be nice to a stranger, that stranger be nice to you. So that was an interesting sort of line to say about that, because they are a part of the Lannister army. And that's who Arya is really trying to get rid of entirely. So that's a very interesting sort of concept. But we see them being super nice, and she's actually smiling and having a good moment. And truthfully, I don't think we've seen Arya smile since, the first episode?
No, technically she smiled when she killed him.
Oh, she was smiling when she killed Walder Frey and when she walked out, so fair enough. But, like, it was just a nice moment, and I did like that moment just to see. I'm liking how we tracking Arya's progress and see what she's doing.
So I gotta interject because I have no freaking clue who Ed Sheeran is. I'm sorry. No, I'm not with the pop culture.
Oh man,
this is why I don't have the internets, and I'm not with the cool kids. I don't know who the fuck he is, but I gotta interject. When I heard him singing, I was like, why the fuck is there pop music in a Game of Thrones? Because he was singing it very and I'm like, this is really off. My immediate thought was, this is way off kilter with the usual Game of Thrones tunes. And so then I find out after the episode that it's some pop singer, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, really? Really Game of Thrones?
I liked it.
I hated it.
Bro,
I was like, this is way out of place. And I didn't even know who he was.
I thought the scene was really good, just because with all the big picture stuff that happens in Game of Thrones and the big characters that we stick with, it's good to also remember that all the little people that are affected by all those choices and decisions that those people make. And so just seeing a bunch of soldiers sitting around having dinner and taking a moment to get away from what their duty is to just be people, it's good to see that. I would say the Ed Sheeran thing, took me out of it a bit, because I couldn't help but see Ed Sheeran and his weird facial hair versus like a Lannister soldier.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was weird because I thought for sure he was gonna die, and I thought that would be hilarious too. That's happening.
That would have been awesome. If just like needle goes through his face.
I thought, because he was sitting the closest to Arya, so I was like, hey, if she kills him, I'll be kind of bummed, but I mean, it's expected, right? Like somebody famous pops up, of course they're probably gonna die. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, so we know that Arya is an absolute badass. We're gonna move on to our next sort of character recap of. We have Brand. So now we have Brand traveling, and he's now officially he is the three-eyed raven, and so they actually finally kind of get to the wall, and then you see everybody who's at the wall itself. And
so isn't it a whole thing though that if he crosses the wall now, like the world is fucked because he's allowing the White Walkers in?
I think that was that circle thing that he already messed up.
He already messed up.
He already fucked it up.
Yeah, he done fucked up.
he done fucked up. But yeah, so he's like, he finally gets to the wall. I don't think too much happens here. Besides, we know that the army of the dead is moving, and we know that they actually are heading to the wall and trying to see what's going to happen out there. And to the fact that Bran had to prove himself of who he was by saying, "Hey, I know that you saw the White Walkers at Hardhome. I know that you fought with them. I know exactly what you're feeling, and I believe you." So I thought that was a pretty cool moment just to give him some screen time, because I think arguably he's one of my favorite characters that I want to learn more about, because I think he's going to be a huge part in the rest of the series entirely.
The one thing I liked about the Bran stuff too is there's this one shot that's just off into the ice, and it's the White Walkers walking towards the camera, and I couldn't help but think, like, well, you only have 8 episodes. You only have an hour every episode, and you're going to use up like 5 minutes of that episode just for the White Walkers to walk towards the camera. And I was like, oh, that's a bold decision.
Yeah.
When you only have so much minutes of screen time left in an entire series that you're going to do one long take like that.
Yeah, but that shot was very impressive because you just get to see how big that army has grown.
Yeah.
And it's just become the most impressive force in Westeros. And as much as they've been doing for the last 6 years, they keep on marching. The North is a big place. It takes them a while to get there.
But they are walking, though, so you do have to remember that majority of the people are taking ships or, horses. They're the only crew that is walking. So that does take some time, I would say.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a pretty cool moment. I did like that because it, it shows that they even added giants. I think Jesse mentioned this they have giants now. They have a bunch of giants. So that's like a thing they actually kind of have. So that was a super powerful moment. I'm really interested to hear more and more and see what happens with them. But I think from the time that's going to happen is once they actually breach the wall, that's probably where shit starts hitting the fan. So let's toss it over to Winterfell. So we have Jon and Sansa, and so now Jon is getting everybody together. Knows that we have to kind of figure out getting Dragonglass, and I think he makes a really good point. And he actually makes a really strong argument of saying that everybody has to learn to fight, and even women. And they have a screen. They have a shot with the Queen of Bear Island, and they have a shot of Lady Brienne, and women are just as equal. At this point now in war, women and men are equal. Boys and girls are all equal. And we even see that. They hinted at it a little bit with the Karstarks and the... I can't remember the other name.
The Umbers.
Umbers, right. So those are very, very young. Those children that are now... head of their houses.
Head of house.
Yeah.
So I think that was pretty cool, and then we actually see the fact that there's a bit of a tiff or kind of argument between Jon and Sansa, and the fact that Sansa wants to just completely take those the history away and kind of assign it to new families, where Jon really is about preserving the actual history, because I think he mentioned this a lot of. I'm not going to punish this family because of a bad seed or a bad, father. Let's not do this. They have been there forever. They fought for our father, and they turned, but they can always come back. So I think that was a really cool way of binding people together, because he knows that the biggest war has nothing to do with anybody that's living. The biggest war is going to be against the dead, and what we can do to try to rally our forces. I just like that wholeheartedness of him. But then they get out of that moment, and it's a little brother and sister fight after that, and I thought it was really pretty cool. So that they know they still have a personality with him. He's been leader of the White. He literally has done a bunch. He's even died and come back. So you know that a bit of him he's definitely changed and grown. But he also knows that he can be kind of softer. And when he even got hurt, the fact that Sansa said that she referred to him as Joffrey, and that was kind of pretty crazy. So yeah, just looking at all the information that we get in Winterfell, what do you guys think?
I think it's real. I mean, this moment really shows how much these characters have grown, and it's good to see where they're at now versus where they used to be. I think they're like one of the past seasons. They used to talk about how Sansa was more like her mother's side of the family. Who were the fish people? I forget their house name right now.
No.
What was that?
I was going to say the Tarleys, but no. Oh, Lady of the Vale. The Vale.
No, the fish people are
it's not the Vale.
Tarleys.
Oh, crap.
Fish people are... It's going to take me a minute.
Lady of the Vale, right? The Vale.
No, they live in River Run.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, so just right south, like west of the Vale.
We'll pop up. There's a lot of names. There's a lot of names in this series.
There's a lot of names, but it's really
Tully.
cool to see
It's the
like her attitude towards things, and that she is like plotting and planning, and it's probably smarter than John, and she knows that there's an edge of ruthlessness, and she's become like full Stark. She is the mother wolf in the House Stark right now, and she definitely wants to look out and make sure the best happens for them.
I love the fact that she even says this line of, Father and Rob basically were like very great people, but they made dumb decisions and they got killed, and I don't want to see that happen to you. And I like the fact that she even says you have all this war experience. Yes, that's awesome. That's something that we necessarily need, but you don't have the experience that I have of learning from Cersei, learning from all these like smarter people against her. And I just love the growth of Sansa, and she literally was hurt. Just at first, you see the scenes with her and Littlefinger of he's clearly dominating and he's kind of he can manipulate as much as possible. And now we see her that she's like, oh, I know exactly what you're gonna say, and she even mentions to Brienne, I know exactly what he wants, and says, oh, don't worry about getting the last word. I'm sure it's gonna be something clever. Oh man, like shut up, bro. I like that. I'm just glad that Sansa's not in this weak character capacity anymore. She's finally kind of spreading her wings a little bit. We saw a tidbit of it in the end of last season, but at least this season so far, we've seen that she's going to be a voice and she's going to be more of a prominent, kind of stronger character. And I think it's always good to see strong women characters that can even balance, if not even overcome, against a strong sort of male character in the actual series. It's pretty cool. Jesse, any thoughts on Winterfell?
Not really. Nothing more that you guys would have talked about. I mean, other than Stanza just being like, yo, I've dealt with the darkness and I get it. And Dad tried to protect me, and don't you dare protect me. And that was really it. It was just a good moment from her, considering it's a character I really don't care about much.
Really?
Yeah, probably my least favorite character in Game of Thrones.
That's fair. I mean, like, at one point I hated her just because it felt like she constantly has to be saved or rescued.
Right, exactly.
Time.
Too much of a damsel in distress.
But I feel like now, just, like, her screen time was, maybe 5 minutes, not even, in this entire episode. But she has shown more growth, and she was way more interesting of watching here than anything else in the actual series. And so there's a progression there. There's some build, and there's something there. There's some substance there now that I like watching her. But I also
like to see that Tormund Giantsbane still in love with Brienne.
That's so fun.
Still going after.
I mean, I love that. That's also fun. I guess my only thing about this is that I am a bit nervous that, even John sort of like hinted at it, and I think we are starting to see that Sansa, she kind of is like looking up at well, not looking up is not the right word, but she like looks at Cersei and what Cersei's doing, and like learning from Cersei, and also learning from Littlefinger and like learning from what he does, and she's also going to become this force to be reckoned with.
But so she's already very anti-Littlefinger already.
Yeah, but she's anti-Littlefinger, but she is more like him than she even imagines right now.
I think John's biggest concern is she'll become one of them, and she'll become another issue for him to deal with.
Yeah. So I know John's trying to protect everybody as much as possible now. So let's leave Winterfell. Let's pop on over to let's talk about Cersei and Jaime. And so we're now back in King's Landing, and I really enjoyed this scene. I really just enjoyed this entirety of it. I enjoyed the entire episode, let's be honest. But the fact that they're finally painting a map, and I think Jesse was kind of alluding to a couple maps that we saw in this episode of they're painting this map, and she's talking to Jamie about all this other stuff of war and trying to fight these battles. But Jamie's like, wait, we haven't even talked about the loss of our son right now, and now all of our children is dead, and we can't even like get our bloodline, but we're the last living Lannisters besides Tyrion, and he's turned against us. And it was a weird moment of, she's like, I know, but at the same time, I can't really be in that capacity anymore. I now have to be a ruler. So it was a really weird, it was a very strong sort of moment between that, because then Jamie was like, okay, I understand that, so let's get back into like the war tactics, and we need to have a bunch of different allies. And so we now see that Cersei has like went out and got like crap, all these names are killing me right now. The Island of the Water, the Octopus.
So you're on
Greyjoys, thank you. So they got we know that we actually have the Greyjoys coming, and it looks to be there's going to be something like that is like the best armada, and him and Jamie even has a moment there too. So I mean I just enjoyed all this stuff because it does talk about, hey, in the past that Tommen just died. That's a thing. Like that's something that, a mother losing her last child now. One was murdered in front of her. The other one was poisoned and didn't even get a chance to see her. And then the last one was kind of committed suicide. So it's crazy that their 3 children had all died vastly different ways. But, what you got. But what are you guys' thoughts on Winterfell? What are you guys' thoughts on King's Landing? Jesse?
Can I hop in?
Yeah.
That scene where they're over the painting, at one point, they're talking about their dynasty, and Cersei says, oh, I want our dynasty to last 1,000 years, and Jaime goes, well, we're the last ones, and she goes, well, it'll be for us then. And it's kind of this weird implication that either A, she's finally snapped and thinks that she's going to live forever, or B, she just wants her name in big bold letters. And the look that Jaime gives her, like, mad props to that actor, because he has this like mixture of like, what the fuck kind of confusion, but also kind of concern, because she's in like either weird denial or she's actually gone crazy. And I was like, oh, that's such a perfect little response from that actor. And I just wanted to bring that one up, was that one statement of her being like, cool, will last 1,000 years. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah, I would say besides Bran as the character that I'm really excited to like learn about more. As the actor, I think Jaime is gonna be my like right there. Like
I want to see that actor in more things so bad. I'm gonna look at him like as he's Jaime every single time, but
he's been in a couple of rough things, Gods of Egypt.
Yeah,
my goodness, but he's great in this capacity. I just like the fact that Jaime has gone all over the place of trying to figure out what his motivation is as a character, and now he's trying to be at his sister/lover's side of trying to kind of console her, but at the same time trying to piece together, try to figure out, what father did, and they're twins, so it's interesting because they're the same age. So I think that was also a really kind of interesting point of he's concerned about her, and I think he's the only person that's going to be concerned about her at this time.
Right.
Brylan?
So I like what Jesse brings up is just like we're starting to see the madness of Queen Cersei. And that even though it might seem like she's not on the outside mad, her decisions aren't totally made with the most sound mind. I found that the conversation they had over the map was definitely really impactful and spoke a lot about like their relationship, and it's kind of heartbreaking to see Jaime standing there with her, like, because he madly loves her, and it's his sister and part of his family, and at the same time he knows that she shouldn't be the one that's in power. Is he going to have to take out another mad leader? Is probably what's going through his mind.
Oh, could you imagine that if he has to kill his sister, who's the Mad Queen?
Yeah.
That would be
nuts.
I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, but like the perfect setup is, you've killed this and everybody hated you for it. Now you have to do this, and now it's your sister, so your entire like bloodline, like who knows the implications of that? But that'd be pretty cool.
What something really bothers me about this scene though is with the Greyjoy. So last season, the last scene you see of Euron is he's talking about build me 1,000 ships and I'll bring you the world to the rest of the Ironborn. And then they arrive in King's Landing with all these brand new ships that are heavily armored and they look better than anything that's been in the seas and they're moving mad fast. How many years have passed for this to actually happen?
This show is terrible with timelines, man.
Well, I think
That's one of my biggest gripes of Game of Thrones is like, dude, how long was Sam in the Citadel? I don't freaking know.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the timeline stuff is.
I mean, I think it's also show that time has passed, and I think the key indicator there is A, everybody looks older. B, if we talk about Sam in the Citadel, that child is at least 5 or 6 now. But that child was like, if you look at it though, he was a baby.
2.
Well, but he was a baby, like still in her arms, and now he's like standing up and playing, and like I think there's definitely supposed to be a passage of time that has happened. How much? Unclear. Because if you look at Jon Snow, they're in the same position, sort of thing. So I was like, how much time did it pass?
And like Arya's story starts kind of right where it left off. So the time sequences are not really matching up in this episode. So you're not quite sure exactly how much time has passed.
Well, arguably, right, you can say that the cold open was just a continuation of the final sequence of last season, right? And then anything after the introduction was the time passing. So you could say that if you wanted to, but
you could.
Yeah, I know. We don't need to go into detail that deep about the time passing. We know some time has passed. How much? Who knows? But we try to figure it out because at the same time, how long have the White Walkers been walking? Who knows?
Many millennia.
Right. So let's chat about Sam. I know we mentioned him. He's in the Citadel. They give it in a bit of recap that he's there and he's trying to. What he wants to do, the reason why he's there is just to get more information on how to defeat the White Walkers, to try to find any sort of clues about where Dragonglass is gonna be. But we have seen that he is in the shit of it. Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
So he's cleaning pots and scrubbing out poo, and they give this weird montage that I thought was kind of funny.
I didn't like montage.
I know, neither did Brian, but I thought.
I mean, it was just getting too much. I mean, one after the other, just the bedpan after bedpan. It just made me sicker and sicker to my stomach.
But it's one of those things in which I think that was another way of talk about time passing. So we're saying that he has to do that like every day, and he's basically like a assistant to just about every kind of maester, and he knows that he has to get information. There is a restricted section in the library, kind of like Harry Potter, weird, and he gets access to it. But before, he had this conversation with this the guy doing the autopsy, and it was interesting to the fact that he actually says a lot of lines of we are the history. We have to protect. All the maesters live their lives differently, and it's like all the maesters are kind of bound together to try to preserve that history of the world as much as possible. I thought that was just a very interesting, sort of powerful line in the fact that he believes Sam because he keeps bringing up that White Walkers and Army of the Dead is going to happen. So he believes him, but at the same time, it's like, well, if it's not going to be for us, then nobody's going to know what goes into these books. So it's a very interesting sort of different sort of kind of perspective talking about just maesters in general. And then we know that Sam kind of steals the keys. He gets like the restricted books and kind of finds some information of where Dragonglass is. We'll talk about that in a moment. So that was also a pretty cool sort of moment. A little bit too convenient, but cool nonetheless. And then we kind of left off the last moment with Sam is that he's going to people who clean up their bowls, and we actually see Jorah is actually in the Citadel, and his entire arm seems to be covered in kind of grayscale. So I thought that was I thought that was a really awesome moment because I literally forgot that he was going there. And I think you guys reminded me of that. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Jesse?
I'm gonna say with the montage, I didn't like it not because it was gross. It was because it was poorly done. I'm not a fan of montages in general, but it was very, very okay. Cut to same bowl. Cut to same latrine, cut to him gag. Like, it was very basic. Like, you don't gather any new information. You don't... Like, a montage is supposed to help drive things forward, and if you're repeating the same scenes, then all it's really doing is saying, hey, he's been doing this for a while, which can be done script-wise much more creatively. So that's why I was a little upset with the montage, because I was like, one, it's out of tone for Game of Thrones. Two, could have been done but handled better a different way, because you don't gather, like, it's not a montage in the sense of, like, oh, Rocky is getting faster and stronger. You're not gaining any new information. You're just basically getting told the same thing over and over. That's why I didn't like the montage. In terms of the other thing that bothered me was I liked the scene, but I didn't like the connotation, which was the conversation that he has with the Maester when he's opening up the body. And he's like, well, I know the White Walkers are coming, and the Maester's like, oh, I know they're coming, but, like, shit happens all the time, and, like, yada yada. And I was like, oh, that's such a really good speech, but, like, as a Maester, like, wouldn't you want to, like, help learn more about the situation? Like, the whole reason he's there is to learn to, like, help out a situation, and, like, it changes what the purpose of the Maesters is.
Yeah.
Because the purpose of the Maesters is to help the houses. And so for him to say, oh, well, we're just a watchdog group, like, it doesn't matter. I was like, well, that kind of contradicts everything I ever thought Maesters were supposed to do.
Well, I don't know if it was clear. Maybe I missed it, but was he a Maester?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a Grand Maester.
Oh, okay. Well, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
So his take on it was like, oh, well, wars happen, battles happen, like, whatever. We're just here to be the smartest guy in the room. And I'm like, well, isn't the point of, like right now, Castle Black doesn't have a Maester. So, like, you should probably get a Maester to Castle Black. Like, that's what the point is every place has a Maester so that you can have the smartest guy at a location.
Yeah.
And it seemed weird to see the Maesters be like, nah, we're just going to withhold information because we're dicks. It's like, that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it could be a reform happening. Brylan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's some really good points that you bring up with that Grand Maester's speech, and I think with a lot of Game of Thrones things, it definitely stays in the realm of the gray rather than taking a black or white stance on something. That there's like they're basically to observe a report. They're like the world's greatest security guards or something like that. But I do I think he has good points, but also think that apathy can definitely lead to the situation getting worse as well. So I do like his point of we're here to be the memories of the world, and we need to be the ones that take the first shot to preserve the memories of the world, but also at the same time, if you don't use that knowledge for good and you just sit on that knowledge, you're not really helping anybody out. I think that Sam sneaking into the restricted books, a little too easy for him, maybe.
Yeah.
I think it should have been earned a little bit more. But I like the surprise of there being a mountain of dragon glass at Dragonstone. I think that's a really cool thing they've added to what that place is all about. And like being someone that's read all the books and has absorbed like a lot of Song of Ice and Fire knowledge, that it's really good that the TV show can surprise me, because right now I'm in the same boat as everybody else because it's all past the books. But also they keep in mind of like the mythos and the history that the story's based on, and kind of are still making some clever nods to things that aren't direct things that are apparent in the books or the TV show. Mm-hmm. But they actually make sense, and they kind of add more to like, why is Dragonstone called Dragonstone? I think it's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that was a cool moment. I am a little nervous about that reveal, though, because we know now Dragonstone is in... Dragonglass, it's in Dragonstone, is a melting of it. So he sends a raven, to Jon Snow to tell him about that. But is he going to continue to be a Maester? Or is he going to then leave and then try to go get it? Like, I'm wondering, like, is that going to be a task for somebody else? Is Sam going to actually finish being a maester? Is he ever going to start studying to be a maester at all? It'd be weird to see.
I think he is studying to be a maester, and he's just like, level 1 of maester school. That, yeah, you're going to do all the rudimentary bullshit before you get to even touch your first science experiment or something. And I think that's like kind of like the nature of a lot of apprenticeships that happen like this.
Yeah.
I think, one thing about maestership, it takes a long time. It'll take a decade, 2 decades to actually become a maester. Do they really have that time now?
Yeah, because I'm wondering if he's going to, like, jump a couple of things. Like, he's going to skip a bunch of steps, right? And then I think there's time for... I don't know if that speech also was kind of alluding to, like, it's a time for reform. Like, things need to change. And so if Sam's going to become this... I don't know. I'm just thinking it right now. If Sam's going to become this different maester, that he may not know all the information, but he has, like, certain knowledge and certain information of something, and they still appoint him. So he's going to be this first maester that doesn't really, like, blast it through the school, like, quicker than other people. Maybe the position changes because a bunch of different history and a lot of things are being rewritten in history. Who knows? I don't know. I think it'd be cool. I definitely don't want to see him stuck there, because now if we know where the dragon glass is, and let's say he has a couple of like conversations with Jorah, maybe, but like there's a bunch of other mysteries I'm sure we can learn. But if he's there, he has a sword there that is part of the metal. What's the name of that metal? The special metal?
Valyrian steel.
Valyrian steel. Yeah. So we know that he's not going to stay there. We know that sword can't stay there either. So he's probably going to leave that area. But I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and he might become an unchained maester, much like Qyburn.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Definitely with different motivations.
He's not bringing people back from the dead?
He might, but maybe for a good reason.
So let's talk about the Hound.
Like weird chemicals.
Oh man, that'd be cool. But let's talk about the Hound. So we see the Hound, and I'm gonna I'm gonna toss this over because names are escaping me right now. But Bradley's gonna be much better suited. So we see the Hound. He's with a bunch of these people, just kind of hanging out, kind of traveling together, and we get a bit of a cool moment that's happening with the Hound. And Bradley, tell me more about what's happening in that particular sort of scenes that we see.
So Sandor is met up with the Brotherhood of the Seven Banners, which are a group that we've met before that took Sandor Clegane prisoner many seasons ago. And it's led by Beric Dondarrion, the Lightning Lord. He wears an eye patch. He's died many times. And there's a red priest called Thoris Amir, who is also a knight who has a flaming sword that hangs out with them. And they also have a lot of other colorful characters that may or may not still be with them, if I remember correctly. And they're just walking through the snow. They're definitely in the north. And they run into a familiar shack, which was the shack of this father and his daughter that gave Arya and the Hound shelter back in like season 2 or 3, I believe.
That's why I didn't remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. And they fed them. They told them, hey, we don't have much. The lands are burnt. There's war going on. I have silver tucked away. And then and they go to bed. They just share stories, having a good moment. Then when they wake up, Arya sees the Hound has killed both of them and taken the bag of silver because he knows they won't survive till winter. They don't have the food for it. This silver might as well go to good use. That was kind of his mindset at that time.
Yeah.
And so they go into this house. It's abandoned. They see the 2 skeletons in the corner clutching each other. And it becomes a moment where Sandor's trying to be... I don't know if he's trying to be a better person, but he's trying to be someone that has a purpose, I would say. He is definitely a survivor, and it's good to see, like, with his conversations with Thoris and Beric, like, he talks to him and he, like, shits on him like he usually does, saying, like, you're a boring dude, and you're just a bald dude that top knot's hiding your bald spot. But just like what Red Priests do, they're like, Thoris asks him to look into the fire. What does he see? and he finally. I mean, one thing is he hates fire, so he doesn't want to get too close. But when he does get close and look into the fire, he does see the dead marching. Talks about Eastwatch by the Sea, which is a fortress over by the eastern part of the wall, and that the dead are marching past it. And so that's something that kind of shocks him that he's able to actually see this. He still says he doesn't believe in faith or religion that much, but they starts to think there might be something up to this.
Yeah. I just love this. I love this scene. I think we talked about this before because it just felt like they took their time with this, and I think we even mentioned to the fact that they took time with seeing showing White Walkers just marching, but they at least took time to show that he's definitely hurting. He like Sandor Clegane or the Hound is definitely hurting at this point, and he at least trying to make amends for his past life and his past self of what he used to be. So he's trying to become a better person, or he's trying to at least say I'm sorry, I'm sorry for my action, I'm sorry for what I've done in the past, and I just like that. I just like the moment that was happening there. I think even Guillermo mentioned that he absolutely loved that scene. He went back around just to watch that scene, just to see the character development that happened there. I thought that was a pretty cool moment because I think this is the first time ever that we see another character, because he kept saying the majority of the time he doesn't believe, and his hatred for fire because of what his brother did to him earlier. So now we get something that he's starts to slowly see, and he starts to see that, okay, there's probably more that's out there. There's probably more than meets the eye. Let me have that one. I think that was a pretty beautiful scene. Jesse?
It was actually the first time that the idea of Hound and the God of Fire clicked with me. I was like, oh, that makes sense. The guy who's badly fire burned has some sort of link with the God of Fire. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Duh. It was kind of a moment. I thought the scene with him looking. I thought him looking into the fire and being like, oh, I see a castle on the end of the wall. I was like, that's a little out of character for him a little bit. I wanted him to be the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? There's a wall? I wanted to see that part played off a little different.
Freaking out a bit.
Yeah, you'd think with somebody who was a huge non-believer all of a sudden seeing shit in flames,
But he was with those people though for a while that nursed him up. So that was at least my realization of they literally were talking about all this religion with him this entire time. So maybe he slowly is, but I think his hatred of fire was the main one. And I think even Beric Dondarrion kind of mentions the fact that isn't it weird that you out of all people are with the Lord of Light, and literally the same lines you were talking about of that's not a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
That's divine justice, I believe he called it. So it was funny. Yeah.
And that's my take on that. Otherwise, you guys said everything else I was looking for.
All right.
Yeah, one other thing I really liked about this scene is that in the middle of the night, Sandor takes the time to bury the dad and his daughter and just make a burial for him. And when he goes to speak words for him, he doesn't really remember the priest, the church sayings that you would say in the Church of the Seven, but he brings his own kind of faith to it, where he's just like, I'm sorry you're dead. And that's a very pragmatic, direct approach, but also an earnest approach. You wouldn't expect anything more from the Hound.
Yeah.
But it's his actions that speak louder than his words, that he's taking this time to kind of right the wrongs of his past.
Yeah, I like that moment because even we've been saying, they've been talking about he's trying to get rid of this past. He's trying to get rid of this life that he used to be, and clearly he's used to be saying those words. He used to say those scriptures from the belief that he used to have, and now he can't even remember, so he says, fuck it, I'm just going to talk from the heart. I'm just going to be real with you. And I even like that bit of it because it also shows his progression and his growth of a character. So I'm so glad he's back. I think for a while we thought that he was dead, but I was super bummed. But I'm glad that he's definitely back. And so lastly, we actually end the episode with what everybody was waiting for. Everybody was waiting to see. We see Daenerys sailing with her squad of 3 dragons. We have Tyrion there. We have Grey Worm there. We have
Miss Andy.
Miss Andy. Thank you. I actually can't remember the other guy's name. So many names.
The eunuch.
Yeah.
Varys.
Yeah. So we're there. They're sailing up to Dragonstone. She even has a moment of like actually feeling the fact that she's in Westeros, and that hasn't happened since the entire falling out. So it's been a bunch of years. She walks up to the throne, and I think it was really interesting to see that right as they walked in, we can see that there's like a Baratheon sort of banner hanging. She kind of pulls that down, and there was just no dialogue. And there was something very beautiful to the fact that, and I think Game of Thrones is really, really well done doing this. Of when there's no dialogue happening, then you're going to stimulate me visually, and that's exactly what was happening, because everything looked absolutely gorgeous, I thought. And there was a lot of pulled away moments and kind of some wide shots of like the actual scope of like walking up to this castle that, you know, oddly enough, we actually have seen before, but not into this capacity yet. So we actually walk up and we see the stone, the chair that I think was actually made out of dragon glass, but I don't know, it looked like it. And then we see her walk into the war room with the actual map, and we see all the stuff that Stannis was actually kind of working with. And to the fact that, you know, she goes there with Tyrion, they look together and see the final lines of, you know, shall we begin? I just love this entire moment of it, because now we're finally putting things into action. So now she's a part of Westeros. There's no more of that, you know, cross the narrow sea. She's done it. So now what's gonna happen next? I was just super pumped about this entire scene. Jesse?
So one thing that I noticed with them coming off the boat and on the beach was everybody's outfits had changed this season.
Mm-hmm.
She's no longer wearing like the white outfit. There's not a lot of color. There's no like golds or anything like that. They're all dressed in like black armor. And that's also the same thing that was happening at the main castle with Cersei and all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
All their gold and red armor is all black now. It's black armor. The mountains dressed in black. And I was just like, oh, that's interesting that all the characters are now like wearing dark armor, and like all the different colors are gone. It's just like muted blacks and grays. And then when she walked into the room and started playing with the map, I started thinking about the map that Cersei was painting on the ground, and like, again, another kind of parallel between the two worlds. And I've been trying to figure out if there are other scenes in that episode where people had maps. Mm-hmm. Like if there was one behind Jon, or if there was one in the Citadel. And I think those are the only two.
Okay.
I think just because then it would draw a parallel between those two camps, which are obviously going to spar off at some point. The Cersei versus Daenerys.
Yeah.
Like, and so that was just my two big takes on it. Was just seeing the color, loss of color, and the fact that they had the same map. And I was like, oh, they're trying to really show some parallels between these different groups, which, interestingly enough, like, haven't ever seen each other the entire freaking 7 seasons. They've been on 2 different continents. So it's going to be weird to have those characters actually speak to one another, because they've never once shared a room.
I'm going to be really excited when they're in the room together.
Yeah, you've basically been watching 2 different TV shows for the last 7 years.
Yeah. Bradley?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think that besides King's Landing and probably the Eyrie or the Vale, that Dragonstone is the next place to get like a huge money shot in Westeros, and they would definitely take the time to make this part of Dany's came home. This is where she was born. This is her birthright and everything.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-minute long scene of just them walking in silence, and everybody's many steps behind her, and just wanting to give her that moment to say hey, this is yours. Mm-hmm. You've come home. And it really speaks volumes just seeing it. It makes a very powerful image as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I just love everything about it, and I did even see the mention of her black, but she had red ties, almost like her the oldest dragon of it. I know you know that name, Brian. Hopefully you can help me out. But the oldest dragon is like the same color scheme, so I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, partly like why she's wearing that is she's dressing Westerosi now instead of in Essos.
Yeah.
Where it's all very colorful, very more I guess democratic would be the closest thing to say is like, yeah, they're more free cities and not really these big nations that have these colorized uniforms and everything. But also, it is a time for war, and so it does look like battle armor of each of these houses that they would wear going into battle too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm pumped. I mean, I'm excited. I think everybody else is excited for this one. We were coming to you straight after the episode, so I know this has been a long day for everybody. But, I would say a couple of closing thoughts, and we're not going to grade this one just because we haven't had the complete works, so we're not going to worry about that as a normal sort of template. But I'm just excited. I didn't watch or Jesse, we didn't watch the Next Up or this season. We didn't watch that bit of it just because I want to try to preserve the magic as much as possible. So I would just say, just exciting things to come. Jesse, where can we find where you work?
You can't find my work.
Oh, okay.
My work's hidden.
Hidden.
I'm against the internet. I didn't even know who the singer was. I don't even remember what his name was.
But I hear you have a lot of email.
Eddie Shaven? I don't know.
Reach you at?
What'd you say, Riley?
There's not even a Ymail account we can reach you at?
I think I have an old Hotmail account laying around somewhere.
Reactivate it. We need you. Yeah, but as always, thank you. Thanks for hanging out, Jesse. Thanks for hosting.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And Bradlin, once again, as always, love to see your face, love to see your voice. Where can you find more of your work out here?
If you want to find a Photoshop of Needle going through Ed Sheeran's head, follow me at Twitter at Bryland. No, it doesn't start with an A. It's BRILUND. I also have an Instagram. I am Bryland. I'll put up really short movie reviews, TV reviews, things like that. I put up one for War of the Planet of the Apes recently, so definitely check that out.
Yeah, I mean, that movie's also getting a lot of buzz, so that could be another thing we chat about. So, spoiler alert, it may be. And we have the Down in Front podcast. So we have Patreon, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have YouTube. We are literally everywhere, all on the internet, unlike Jesse. So check out our Patreon.com, patreon.com/downinfront. If you would like to donate, just help us out with everything that we necessarily do. We like to do this stuff for fun and
I'm
free.
looking at you, Arizona Iced Tea.
Oh, please, Arizona Iced Tea,
yeah.
please back us for a couple episodes. I guarantee you we will not let you down.
Arizona, our Patreon dollars go painstakingly to help fuel Jesse for these shows.
Yes.
It's true.
Yes, please. So we have Facebook, so facebook.com/DIF podcast. So we're also going to be there as well as our email, downinfrontpodcast@gmail.com. We're going to be posting our YouTube link where we do a bunch of kind of video sort of teasers, very, very short, maybe less than a couple minutes of just hyping us up and talking about our latest reviews. As well as we have a Twitter, and we're also on Stitcher as well. So our Twitter is @_DIFP. That's @_downinfront podcast. That's what it stands for. With that, I would say thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight, and we will be back super, super soon and talk about our next reviews. And we will say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.